When did you realize your parents didn't see you as human? I was 15 when my dad slid a stack of papers across the kitchen table and said, "Sign here. No hello, no how was school. Just a blue pen and a look that said don't ask." He said it was for the family, for opportunity. My brother Mark had this big plan, a music lounge, live bands, neon sign. He was the star, always was. I was the quiet one. I did homework, made coffee, kept receipts straight. That was my role. I read the first page. My name was typed at the top, full name, social. I asked why. Dad said, "You've got the clean credit." Mom smiled like this was sweet. "You get to help your brother's dream." I said I was 15. Dad tapped the line. "Just sign." So I signed. Hands shaking so hard the ink stuttered. They hugged Mark. They kissed his hair. Mom told me to wash the dishes. The bar opened in May. It was loud and smelled like spilled beer and lemon cleaner. I worked every weekend. Cashier, coat check, door, everything. School at 7, bar till 2, home at 3. Dad said it was real world learning. Mom said, "You're lucky to be included." The cops came twice that summer. Noise complaints. Mark laughed it off. He comped drinks for girls who knew his name. He bought a fog machine. We still hadn't paid the summer electric at home. In August, a guy from the bank called my cell. He said the payment was late. I said, "What payment?" He said the loan under my name. I sat in the bathroom at school and stared at the tile till the bell rang. I brought it up to Dad. He waved me off. First months are rocky. Mom said, "We'll catch up after Labor Day. Don't stress." I did the math in a notebook. Rent, licenses, liquor, bands. It didn't add up unless you pretended numbers were feelings. September, Mark crashed his motorcycle. He was fine. A sprain and Instagram photos with a neck brace. They threw him a glad you're okay party at the lounge. I ran the register. Cakes and shots all on the house. Winter came. The heat at home cut out twice. Mom said, "Wear a sweater." They bought a second fog machine. January, someone broke a bottle in the alley and slipped a complaint to the city. A fine landed. Big. Dad called me in from chemistry to ask for my online banking password. I said no. For the first time, I said no. He held the phone by his ear like it was me he wanted to throw. "You think you're better than your own blood?" Mom cried. Not at the words, but at the scene of it. They found my password anyway. Paper under my mattress. Stupid mistake. The account drained. Fees stacked. When I asked, Dad said, "We're keeping the family afloat." Mom said, "We'll pay you back when Mark's album drops." Mark didn't have an album. He had a VIP couch. Spring, the city shut the place for violations. Too many. We stood in the empty room under dead lights. The floor sticky with old nights. Dad turned to me like he'd been saving this line. "We need to refinance. You'll sign again." I laughed. It came out wrong, like choking. "I'm still a minor," I said. "That's what makes you useful," he said. I asked if they even knew my grades. Mom blinked. "You're doing fine?" I was failing math. I hadn't slept in a week. I smelled like fryer oil and bleach most days. I asked if they remembered my art show. I told them for a month. Dad looked at the floor. Mom said the date must have changed. It hadn't. My teacher hung my drawing with a little note that said, "Absent. The bank sent a letter. Collections now." My name in bold. My debt. I held it up at dinner. It shook in my hand like a trapped moth. Dad said, "Put that away while we're eating." Mom said, "Don't ruin the mood." Mark walked in late and grabbed the last piece of chicken. He said, "Hey, we're thinking rooftop stage this time." Dad nodded like a king hearing good news. I looked at all of them and felt it land. Not a thought, a drop. I wasn't a person to them. I was a signature with legs. I packed a backpack after midnight. 3 shirts, sketchbook, toothbrush. Grandma lived 2 bus lines away. She opened the door in her robe and saw my face and didn't ask why. She made tea. She put my phone in a drawer. "Sleep," she said. The next afternoon, Mom called from a number I didn't know. She was crying. Of course she was crying. "The bank's going to take the house," she said. "They'll put a mark on you forever. Please, baby, come sign. Just this one last time." In the background, I heard Dad say, "Tell him it's for family. Tell him he owes us his life. Tell him he wouldn't even have a roof if we hadn't." I said, "You used my name to buy your dream and then you handed me the bill." She said, "We're family." I said, "You didn't borrow my name. You took my life and called it paperwork."